Hi, everyone. My name is Sina Afrooze. I'm founder and CEO of Apera AI. Apera is on a mission to end robot blindness in manufacturing by giving robots ability to perceive, reason, and act, which ultimately allows manufacturers to be competitive with Chinese manufacturing, automate a lot more. We are a company of about 85 people. We're growing really fast. We were Growth Company of the Year in BC last year. We were in the top 10 in Deloitte Fast 50 this year. And I didn't raise my hand, but we are hiring. There are lots of job postings on our website. And a lot of the engineering jobs are in Vancouver. And there are also operation jobs in Vancouver. And if you're a believer that nothing tedious has to be done by humans, then you belong at Apera. So, I built this entire slide deck using ChatGPT through a 20-minute conversation. Let me time myself. I'm gonna try to time box it to about 5 minutes-ish. And I'm gonna talk about two areas: how you fundraise, my experience fundraising, and go to market in manufacturing space. I've pitched to Chris before. So some of the stuff are not on the slide deck, which I intentionally didn't put it in there. But fundraising starts by first selecting who you're actually pitching to. And it's very important that you run it really like a sales process. So prospect, qualify, early disqualification of the prospect. And as especially, early founders, you almost always think of the other side as, significant, several levels higher than you, but you have to really level the playing field and ask meaningful questions. First, understand how VCs work, how they raise their own money, what motivates them. Do they even have money? There are many VCs that don't even have money. They're just having a conversation with you. And those are very kosher questions to ask. How much dry powder do you have? Have you been investing? Have you been investing in this space? Who's your favorite, investment? All of these questions allows you to effectively qualify or disqualify the investor. If the partner is not getting into a call with you, for me, that's usually an automatic disqualifier. That means they're just there to gather information. Most firms have analysts. Their job is to basically survey the market. So your time is valuable, qualify and disqualify quickly. Now, once you've selected who you're pitching to, it's incredibly important that you have a good story. You have to know, and Chris probably will talk about that, VCs hear probably tens of stories a day, if not more. And you have to stand out. And the way you stand out is by having rehearsed your story at least tens of times, probably 100 times, speaking loud to yourself, doing it to your friends, doing it to friendly VCs, and really talk about what is the problem, why now, why you. Here's my proof point. Here's my plan going forward. This is what I did. This is what I'm going to do. And call to action. And put that in slides in a very succinct way. Every slide has to have one takeaway, not more than one. As you're going through it, you have to get that feeling from the person that you're pitching to, that he got it or she got it. put a goal here, the cognitive load has to be low, especially if it's in the afternoon. A lot of meetings have happened, it's after lunch. You have to make it really easy for your person to want to have the second meeting with you. Next slide. The other way.
This is just sorry.
Make sure that you think of the presentation as a conversation and not a presentation. Many people think that a pitch is I am presenting to the VC is listening to me, and it's very easy to just completely lose them, especially if it's in the afternoon. One of the tricks that I used, this is under the hood, is I actually hired someone who is a speechwriter, professional speechwriter for politicians. And I had, I think, 3 or 4 sessions with them. And he helped me a lot with connecting with the person, with the human. Something as subtle as mentioning that person's first name as you're going through immediately gets them to look up and look at you. Especially in this day and age where a lot of these pitches are done on Zoom, you can't tell, is this person listening? Is he looking at the monitor? Is he taking notes? You can't tell. The moment you mention their first name, they look up, they look at you, they pay attention. You want to have a conversation and you want to tailor the pitch to your audience. Now, here is where practice makes perfect. You want to tailor the pitch to your audience without losing your narrative arc. You still want to hit every point. And there are certainly VCs that they want to go to the last slide immediately and then jump in the middle because they have their own metrics that they want to gauge. And you want to make sure that you hit your story really well. Next one, please. Once you go after the first meeting, that's where analysts often get involved. If the partner is excited, they are then looking for proof to back their thesis. Almost every solid investor in early stages, they're betting on you. But they still need to make a case to their partnership. And every investment comes with an investment memo, which is a full analysis on the market, on the opportunity, on the company, on competitors. The easier you make it for the analyst, for the partner to come up with the full investment memo, the easier it is for them to make the case on your behalf to the partnership. So make sure that your data, your forecast, your numbers, they are defendable. Your bottoms up, how you're coming up with, especially if you're revenue generating. These days are a lot of companies that are not revenue generating, and they still raise a lot of money. If you can do that, keep doing that. But once you start generating revenue and you're projecting forecasts, that has to be defendable. Now, talking about revenue, go-to-market, we sell to manufacturers. So this is me switching gears from raising money to how you actually make money. Manufacturers are always operating in factory units. Every factory runs their own P&L. That means they make their own decisions on how to run the factory. The corporate plays a role, but ultimately factory has to have the buy-in. So the way that we managed to really crack the manufacturing space was by going at one plant, creating proof point, taking that reference, going to the next plant, creating proof point. Once we have at least 2 plants that were advocating for us, start talk to the corporate people. Now we have a bottoms up, tops down motion, and that allowed us to really scale in the manufacturing space. That's, I think, more or less all I had. The last slide is just talking about that whole motion. It's very important to find there are nerds in manufacturing. There are people who love technology. And if you identify them and they love your product, they will champion your product. And those will be your most important allies in order to expand across the manufacturing. That was all under the hood.
Can we get a round of applause? Questions?
And now we have the other mic working over there.
Yeah.
You have it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Any questions? Yes.
I have a question. What convinces VCs to invest in you when you aren't making a whole lot of money? For my startup, we have revenue, but very limited. What would convince VCs to bet on you? Like, how do you convince them to invest in you?
It depends on what stage you're in. I mean, you can be Figure AI and you're raising $1 billion with no revenue.
No, even if you're raising like 50,000 or 100,000 or 500,000, what type of VC should I go to, or what should I tell them to feel convinced that, hey, I can put that money on you?
Yeah, I mean, so our journey was for the early checks, we raised angel money. And then when we started to have some traction, that's when we went to, institutional investors. That's not always the case. There are other paths, including using, going to accelerators like either the local accelerators like the CDL, or that will connect you to the pre-seed investors. Chris probably has a better answer to that. But ultimately, I think it's about, is this the right team, especially at that early stage? And is this the right market? If the market is ripe and the opportunity is there and this team is unique and I can back this team, then honestly, the journey is not going to be straight. You're going to go through so many windy roads, and one of the most important things is the team. So they're going to bet on you as long as the market is promising.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Want to maybe just get up and yell it out?
Just pass the mic.
All right. Hello. It doesn't work, of course. I love your go-to-market slide, and I love that we are there. Go-to-market often, there's a high level and there's a low level of go-to-market. So there is your high level of how you're going to do it, and there's your execution plan. I saw that you hinted a little bit more on the execution plan. From your experience, is it better to lead with the execution, or is high level enough and wait for questions? So in your case, you literally said how you're going to crack the sales process. Is it enough to say that we're going to go to manufacturing, we know X, Y, and Z about manufacturing, and we're going to have conversation and wait for them to ask? Or is it better to lead with detail?
Are you talking about when you pitched VC?
Yes.
Okay. So how do you explain your go-to-market motion when you pitch to VC? How high level?
Great question. At high level, our go-to-market motion is land and expand with viral adoption. That's what I will tell a VC and allow them to double click. One of the tricks I didn't mention with VCs is to let them double click. Don't give them the answer. That starts the conversation. So usually I tease something and then they'll say, oh, well, tell me more. How do you execute on your land and expand? How do you land? How do we land? Well, we'll knock on the doors, literally knock on the doors, go in, find the application, automate over a weekend, and then that's how we land. So yeah, for a VC, some of the certain key terms like land and expand, it means something to them. Viral adoption, it means something. So if you use those keywords, that can pique the interest of the right VC.
Thank you.
Of course.
One last question. Go ahead.
So you mentioned the storytelling process when you're pitching to a VC, and in that like process, what do you highlight the most when you pitch your own business? And what do you highlight the most when you pitch your own business, and why do you highlight it that much when you do?
My own business. This is a really good question. So I crafted my story to start fairly normal, but then immediately I have one beauty chart that is all the logos that we have. And that always makes a person sit up straight and pay a lot of attention, because having that many large manufacturer like enterprise logos is a rare thing for a VC to see. So how do I paint a story? I still hit all of those marks, but I do try early on to really pique their interest so that they're really listening after that to understand, how did I get that? How did I get to that beauty chart? Because that looks really good. So, I have a beauty chart that shows all the logos, immediately followed by my NRR. Let's say it's 300%, and everybody is like, wow, okay, now I want to hear how you're actually doing that. That's how I did it. And I went through it several iterations on what will actually pique their interest.
Need a round of applause.